Lately, I've been on a disaster movie kick, watching one after the other. I'm not really sure why, but in this video I'll attempt to unravel the great mystery as to why we like disaster movies so much. The first disaster movie I have a distinct memory of is Independence Day. I had seen other disaster movies before, but on television. Seeing Independence Day on opening night with a supercharged crowd was something I'll never forget. I distinctly remember driving to the theater at around 9 p.m. for the midnight show. I wanted to get there early because back in those days, we didn't have assigned seats, so it was first come first serve. I had already bought my ticket, so all I had to do was wait. I stopped at a nearby music store and bought a few CDs to bide my time, and then I got a little shut-eye in my car because I didn't want to feel drowsy during the movie. We had all seen the brilliant teaser trailers, specifically the one where the White House was destroyed by an alien laser blast. Those teasers were a huge part of the movie's success, especially during opening weekend. At around 11:15, I and a huge crowd gathered into the auditorium, took our seats, and, after some trailers, were treated to one of the best films of the summer. There was something absolutely thrilling about seeing huge, famous monuments obliterated by vengeful aliens. Seeing the White House destroyed in particular is a hint toward why Independence Day was such a watershed film. It was the highest grossing movie of that year, and the highest grossing disaster movie of all time, until a little movie called Titanic sailed into theaters the following year. But Independence Day remains second in command of the disaster box office, and number one when it comes to planet-busting films. Perhaps it was the destruction of these important monuments, these symbols of Americana, that was so striking and one of the reasons audiences went gaga over the film. What was so thrilling about seeing the White House blow up, the Statue of Liberty decimated, the Empire State Building obliterated? Maybe it is the comfort and safety these symbols provide. Part of the joy of going to the movies is we get to experience our greatest fears in the comfort of a safe auditorium. The destruction of these monuments is at the top of the list of bad things that can happen to our world, and seeing them wiped out had to have some kind of emotional and psychological effect on the audience. It was the audaciousness of it. These were symbols that were not to be trifled with. Even deeper, these planet-busting movies offer a glimpse not into just our own mortality, but the mortality of every man, woman, and child on Earth. It's one thing for terrorists to take over a building. It's quite another for the safety of an entire city, or even the whole planet, to be in jeopardy. And aliens are a big part of some of these films. Our fascination with life outside our own planet has been well documented in cinema for decades. While some films like E.T., Close Encounters, and Starman offer optimistic takes on the alien phenomenon, most of these disaster movies seem to paint extraterrestrial life as cold, hostile, and unforgiving. Of course, these fear-based plots are an easy way to create thrilling sequences, as friendly aliens don't offer much in the way of action and explosions. It is easier for filmmakers to create hostile aliens in order to make these movies more exciting. Even other movies that are not specifically disaster-based still create the idea that aliens are frightening specters of evil, hell-bent on kidnapping people and experimenting on them, like some twisted science experiment. It is human nature to fear the unknown, and aliens are about as unknown as it gets. 2012 was another disaster movie that seemed to garner quite a bit of attention. Coincidentally, it was directed by Roland Emmerich, the director of Independence Day. And while the quality of 2012 I felt was quite a disappointment, especially compared to Independence Day, the movie does offer a bit of insight into our fascination with these end-of-the-world scenarios. 2012 is based on the Mayan calendar's supposed prediction about the end of the world. As the date approached, many people seemed to take these claims seriously. But like the Y2K scare in the 90s, this turned out to be just another failed prediction. But why are we obsessed with these end-of-the-world doomsday scenarios? Have we become so bored as a species that it's just another way to amuse ourselves? Have we grown dissatisfied with what we've become as a greedy, consumption-focused society that places more value on narcissism than compassion and understanding? Some of these films, like The Day After Tomorrow, tackle the subject of climate change and environmental concerns. morphing these concepts into planet-busting synopses. While the plot of this film is absurd, it does highlight what we as a species have slowly done to the planet with the burning of fossil fuels, and acts as a bit of karmic retribution. Waterworld, while not a disaster film per se, is set up on the basis of the polar ice caps having melted, causing sea levels to rise to the point where every city on Earth is engulfed in an endless ocean. Eventually, some of the survivors do find land, indicating the water is receding, and we are left with the idea that humanity will start again, after having purged the main evil in the story, who coincidentally have shacked up on a giant oil tanker. The destruction of this tanker is a fairly obvious metaphor for the dissolution of the old world and its dependence on fossil fuels. Maybe at the heart of the disaster concept is the noble idea that humanity has grown too stubborn, distant, and intolerable of one another, and that it takes a large crisis in order to get people back to caring for one another. That an outside threat immediately triggers our more altruistic nature, creating a chance for humanity to heal and move past the old traumas. Most of these movies do end optimistically, with humanity rebuilding what was lost with a new attitude. Maybe people yearn for these destruction-based films because they are looking for a way to destroy their own barriers that keep them shackled and closed off from their fellow man. And as technology continues to progress, and we become more and more focused on computers, it's easy to see humanity becoming less and less connected, and in the symbiotic relationship that has sustained us for thousands of years. These disaster films offer a glimpse into our own psyches, and as cinema really is just a big mirror humanity holds up to itself, the disaster film says a lot about us, and it will be interesting to see how the genre evolves. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, as I'll be posting more content in the future. Thanks for watching.